Every year, thousands of YouTubers and gaming publications give their top 10s and favorite games of the year. This is not one of those videos. What I do have is a list of every game I played in 2025, and my goal of this video is to show you what a year of games is like for me. My gaming credibility is on the line, but I'm extremely confident by the end of this video, you'll find some games you'll be interested in. That being said, let's start off this list with the games I completed in 2025. First off, we got the first Berserker Kazan, which I completed May 4th. Now, I have no idea what I was doing in January, February, March, even April, but in May is when I beat my first game of the year. At this point of the year, I was kind of missing just some Souls-like action, you know, I was missing that whole thing. Just wanted to play a new one. And I was kind of just interested in the first Berserker Kazan, just from like the trailers and the teasers we've seen. So I ended up buying it on release. Just decided to go crazy on it. Played on hard mode, and I would say this is a pretty hard game. One of the more difficult games I've beaten recently. And I enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it took me about 50 hours on hard mode to beat the game. And there was just a lot of bosses where I just got hard stuck, like a skill issue. But it just felt really nice. Like any game where you can utilize a parry, like parrying this attack is gonna one-shot you, and then like perfectly dodging, and then like doing a heavy attack right at the perfect moment to get their guard broken. It's the bread and butter of a Souls-like game. This game's kind of interesting because there isn't many weapon types. There's only a few, but what it does have is a skill tree for those weapons. What you can do is upgrade those skills as you please, and then unupgrade them and swap them into something else. And it just like lets you work on this playstyle that you're trying to build. In my playthrough, I mostly focused on the spear, which is what just felt the best for me. I also did like the dual blades, which is pretty fun. And yeah, I just kind of messed around with the skill points, found a combo that I particularly liked, and it just felt nice to go through the levels. I will say the story didn't exactly capture me. It kind of felt like a typical Asian story, if you get what I mean. Like, guy was disregarded, and then bad guy afoot, but he was your friend, and then you do this great journey, but you're cursed, and you're going back, and you're trying to save all these people from these demons. Like, it's a very simple story, but I enjoyed it. Also, the art style, like it has like this very satisfying cel-shaded look that I quite liked. And I played it on the PS5, and the performance was pretty good. I think it was 60 for most of the game, except maybe in this one town where I was chugging a bit, but it didn't really affect me personally. Yeah, I ended up platinuming this game, got all the trophies. There was a point where I accidentally progressed past a certain point, and I had to like go back 40 minutes so I could get the trophy, because one of them was locked behind one specific little talking point. You have to talk to the specific NPC, and if you click the wrong thing, you literally cannot go back. So I had to spend 40 minutes redoing some stuff. It was the whole thing. The next game I completed was Celeste on May 12th. This actually needs a little bit more explanation. Every year, me and my friends have a like celebration drinking party where we all come to my house and we beat a game in one day. And this year, I picked Celeste. The footage got corrupted, and it really upset me. I'm not sure exactly why I picked Celeste for this beat a game in one day, but it was a mistake. This game took me 14 hours to beat. I had to play a game for 14 hours straight. I could not see. My eyes squinting at the monitor. Jumps were not coming out in the right way. I hit like a slump, right? I was so watery-eyed that I just was barely progressing for like 2 hours. But I did it. I got to the apex. I got to the top. I did it. And my footage is corrupted because my game crashed. And I've tried everything that I know of my computer know-how to uncorrupt this, and it will not uncorrupt, which it's just so sad. But let's talk about the game. I enjoyed the game, kind of. I mean, under the circumstances, the first couple hours, like, oh, this is neat. I'm collecting the little strawberries, I'm jumping around. Jumping and the platforming felt very fluid. I wasn't struggling with the controls. The controls were playing with me. and it just felt very nice. I played hard platformers in the past. I played Super Meat Boy. I played like N+, and it just felt like at home. Like it was a very fun experience. In retrospect, when I was actually playing the game, I was miserable for like 8 hours, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the good time that I perceived that I had. The mechanics are great. I enjoyed the story. I ended up only doing like the base climb and not the 100%. Maybe I'll do the 100% at some point. Maybe not. You know, I have some memories associated with this game. Me drinking alcoholic milkshakes trying to beat this game in one sitting. I don't know. I enjoyed the game. That's all that matters. The next game I'm talking about is actually a game I had on the channel, which is Donkey Kong Bonanza. Beat that game August 24th, and I got 100% completion in about 45 hours. This game just felt fun, you know, kind of just like a typical Nintendo experience. You know, you break stuff, you punch Boulder, monkey punch Boulder, and, you know, it just felt fun to like move and jump around, go fast, throw stuff, collecting all these collectibles, and which is a fun experience. The only part of the game I really didn't like was actually getting the 100% completion, which is like, I pretty much had to grind getting these little notes that tell you where these like fossils are and whatever. It just took a lot of time when I probably could have beaten the game in like less than 30 hours. The core gameplay is just fairly fun. The bosses, I mean, they were kind of easy, but it's kind of a children's game, whatever. It was just fun going deeper, you know, towards the core and like having all these different forms that you can play with. The only thing I can't recommend about this game is that you have to buy a Switch 2 to play it, which that's a whole can of worms in itself. I mean, like, I think Donkey Kong Bonanza is my only Switch 2 game, other than like Mario Kart World, which is like digital because of the edition I bought. But like, at its current state, I don't think the Switch 2 is worth buying until they have like more games available. I mean, if you have no console, it's fine. I mean, like, they pretty much get all the newer games at this point. If you like Nintendo and you want some of the newer exclusives, then the Switch 2 is kind of fine. I mean, it's getting like Resident Evil Requiem and whatever, but just the whole game keycard situation where, you know, where the game is a download, yada yada. It's a weird situation. I don't regret buying my Switch 2, but hard pressed to recommend to anybody. Now going on to my next game, it's a classic. One of my favorite older PC games. The game is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which I beat on August 27th and took me about 27 hours. I've beaten this game before, you know, but I wanted to make a video on it. So I booted it up, did a new playthrough, a different style, one I haven't done before, and I had fun. The game is rough. Not every part of this game is fun. Like, traversing just takes forever. Like, I feel like the quest design is a little lacking. A lot of it is moving from point A to point B, and you can't really run. Like, I think I no-clipped a lot, especially in like the city level, just to move around. There's also just like giant bits of the game that change in difficulty. Like, some areas will be really easy, and then sometimes the bosses will, like, you have to cheese them in a specific way or play in a specific way. But overall, I enjoy the game, despite its flaws. It does have some bugs, even with, like, the fixes that I used, the patches that I used, there were still some issues with the game. I do wholeheartedly recommend people play this game if they're interested. It's not for everybody, it's a little slow, but I feel like the characters and the story kind of make up for that in a sense. It just has this older PC charm where it just has some level of crust, but it's just fun to play. The next game I beat is a controversial one. It's Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which I beat November 24th and took me about 21 hours. So first off, there's kind of like a big controversy with this game. Essentially, it was in development hell for a very long time, and it turned into something that wasn't really a sequel to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but they still called it the second game. That kind of left like a bad taste in everyone's mouth, but you know, it does help sell the game. The CEOs and the people that actually make those decisions thought it would be better, which it probably did sell them more games, to be honest. But at the end of the day, it just feels like lying. But I also just wanted to play the game. You know, I was a big fan of the original. I know a lot of people look at like gaming publications and YouTubers for their reviews on games without trying them. For this instance, I decided to just buy it myself, full price, try it out, and see what it was like. So the first thing you'll notice with this quote-unquote sequel is that it is much more story-focused and less about the actual RPG mechanics. The gameplay is fairly simple, and there's no real leveling up. I mean, you have skill points, but it feels more like Far Cry 3 than like anything else, really. Like, oh, I can upgrade my ability to teleport or move faster and then switch them around. Like, it's not very deep. It's a very simple action game in that aspect. Without going too much into spoilers, I did enjoy the story. I enjoyed the side characters. I like the vibe of the game, like being in Seattle and interacting with the city streets. I enjoyed the game for the most part. Some of it felt slow, and just like the gameplay in general is very simple. I also feel like they could have just not included any side quests and the game would have been better. I feel like the side quests didn't really add anything to the game. I feel like if you're trying to just have the best experience possible, you might not even play any of the side quests. They give you very minor insights into the characters, and it really didn't do much for me personally. Another thing I had a nitpick about is that I think you have to beat the game like once for each character to get the plat, which I'm definitely not doing. It just seems a little silly that you're pretty much going through the same game X amount of times just with different characters when you can essentially use any abilities on any character. So I don't know. That's a weird decision for me. By the end of the game, I was a little fatigued by how just like samey some of the combat was. Like having the ability to level up in the original game and like work towards your next thing, your very specific thing you wanted to work towards, and even if the game wasn't that deep, going through your own things to play the game how you wanted felt nice. In this very simplified version of that, it felt a little lacking in that sense. I would say I did enjoy the game overall, but it does have some flaws. Now for the last game I beat this year, which I'm kind of a little bit cheating. I played the majority of the game in December, and I finished it technically in 2026. But that game is Digimon Time Stranger. This RPG I would consider not a simple RPG. Like, I feel like people who haven't played RPGs before might get a little caught up in some of the mechanics. The presentation was nice. I liked how the Digimon looked in 3D space. They've been rocking that for the past few games. Look very nice. And a lot of the same mechanics from the past Digimon games have reappeared. I mean, like, you pretty much just convert Digimon in the same way and digivolve them in the same way. The thing I really want to talk about is just like, it's kind of complex in a sense. Not only do you have to level up your Digimon, any Digimon can learn any moves. That's a little weird. You can kind of mix and match as you go through it. And taking that into account, when you digivolve, you get back to level 1, and like there's this whole big system of like there's level caps based on your talent, and you have to raise your talent by using them, and then the level cap goes up, and then by having a bond when you digivolve or de-digivolve, you'll get extra stat points, and then there's personalities that give you bonuses, and you can level up all your Digimon at once and load enhance them to give XP, and then there's agent skills that you can use to improve your gameplay and equipment. There's a lot going on, and I did enjoy that aspect of just min-maxing, but it can be a little much at times. I feel like the story was just run-of-the-mill. I would say, in general, it didn't really capture me the way I thought it would, but I did enjoy going through it all. Also, I played the majority of the game on 5 times speed in combat, and even when doing that, the game still took me 50 hours, so that tells you like how long this game can take to complete if you're doing all the side quests. Now it's time to talk about all the roguelikes and roguelites I played last year. This is going to be much more of a rapid fire thing, and I'm just going to talk about them very shortly. Just give a brief overview of what I thought about them. Starting off, one of the roguelikes I played was Sulphur. It's an FPS roguelike with looting and extraction shooter elements. It's got this like nice sort of, I don't even know what I would call it, cell shaded, but like cartoonish art style, and like surprisingly amazing gun feel. Like, but just by looking at this game, you wouldn't expect it to feel as good as it does, to just actually handle the guns and like move around. But honestly, one of the best FPS roguelikes I've ever played. Next we have Ball X Pit, which I play a little bit on my channel. It has an interesting system. Like, you get upgrades through like placing little things in your town, and the whole game is based on like bouncing balls and getting synergies, and like there's a bunch of crazy characters in this game that some are very annoying, but some of them very fun to play. I would recommend if you're into like trying to get busted runs and this little like weird ball shooting thing they're doing. It's pretty fun. Next is Star of Providence, and this is, I guess, a bullet hell roguelite, where you're just dodging, shooting, getting through rooms. I'll say the mechanics are pretty simple, but it's just very fun just to put your skills to the test and see how much you can dodge and how far you can get. It feels very good, which is kind of necessary for a bullet hell game. And it just very simple. It was nice to just pop in and out. And it just reminded me of playing like more bullet hell shoot 'em up-esque games back in the day. And it's just fun to throw in a few rounds every now and again. The next game is Shape of Dreams, which is like an isometric hack and slash action roguelike. Very reminiscent of games like League of Legends. I think the control configuration is kind of similar to that. It felt pretty easy to get into. The game is a bit brutally difficult, and like the progression's a bit slow. But if you wanted to take your like MOBA skills or like Path of Exile skills into like a roguelike game, this is a pretty good choice. The next game I played was Noobs Are Coming, which is essentially a Brotato clone. Most of the stats in this game have their Brotato comparison, but if you want something new to play with a little more simple, a little easier, this game's not the worst. It does have, I would say, a little bit more unique characters in Brotato, but it was just easier for me to like shut off my brain in this game than Brotato specifically. Not only that, my friends were also playing it, so I decided to play it, and it just felt fun to like play a game my friends were also playing. Next game I played was Megabonk, which kind of took over streaming and a lot of like YouTubers. The game was taking a lot of people's time. Just goes back to just nice to do a small run where you get overpowered and kill a bunch of stuff. I don't have much to say about it, but it could be the best 3D Vampire Survivors like if it gets more updates and game modes. It is kind of lacking content, but it is a fun game. It could get to the point where it's like there's no competition. The next game I bought because my friends wanted to play it, it's Night Rain. Good way to describe it is it's a good Elden Ring game, but a bad roguelike. Just like the runs are too similar. There's not enough that changes in between the runs. But if you're really into Elden Ring, it's a pretty good game, but just like the roguelike mechanics are lacking, even with the newest update. I mean, looting is fun like always, and like, you know, finding the most optimal way to loot and to deal with certain bosses, but it gets old pretty fast once you know that, and it doesn't take too long to know that. But like any multiplayer game, it's fun with friends, so actually going through all the bosses and finishing it was pretty fun, and I would do it again. The last thing we're going to talk about today is games I played but didn't complete. We'll go over a little bit about the game and why I didn't continue playing them, and if I'm going to play them again. First off, we got Atelier Yumiya, made by Studio Gust. Atelier is a long-range series where you're an alchemist and you alchemize stuff. I think it's the first open-world Atelier game. You're on the world, you're crafting like your equipment, and I think there's like a church where you can like build stuff, and some of the quests are you like building like certain buildings for people. It's a very strange game, but I honestly thought it was really fun. It has some interesting mechanics. There's some like dodging mechanics, just like doing the battling was pretty fun. It has this cool like action RPG gameplay where you're dodging around and you're trying not to get hit by your enemies while doing like the right moves at the right time. I did play on hard mode, which I think I would go back to normal if I did play it again. And I kind of just stopped playing it because other games came out. I'm not entirely sure what came out during that time. Oh, I remember. It came out, I started playing it around when Kazan came out, and I kind of dropped it at that point. I do want to go back and play it. I haven't really played many of the other Atelier games. I own Sophia and Ryza, haven't beaten either of them, but if I do go back and play one, I will play this one first. Next game I didn't complete is Hell Is Us, which is kind of like a action RPG game. Of the developers, when talking about the game, really were advertising the fact that it didn't have a map. It has like kind of like a Souls-like battling system. You're fighting these little like white things. I don't know. That's not a good. I don't even know what they are, to be honest. And you kind of just go around finding out the story of this like war-torn place, and you're trying to find like the mystery of these creatures and what's happening in this like this foreign land. It came out in between Donkey Kong Bonanza and Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. So I kind of played it in the interim before those two games, and then when Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 came out, I stopped playing this game. I did enjoy it. It's definitely not as hard as like a Dark Souls game, even on hard mode, but that's definitely on purpose. It felt on purpose. I definitely will go back to this game. I enjoyed the mechanics. And I don't always enjoy like a super hard game, so just going through this and enjoying the world and, you know, getting my Souls-like goodness in while I can. Definitely want to go back to it. The next game I didn't complete is Lost Soul Aside, which is like an action-adventure hack and slash game. This game I bought knowing I wasn't gonna play it or beat it immediately. Lost Soul Aside is another one of those games that I bought before Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 came out, and I decided to try a little bit. It has some, like, gaming crust on, like, the combat. I don't really know how to explain that well, but, like, when you're playing the game and you're, like, hitting the enemies and moving around, it just feels, like, slightly sluggish, like not how I would expect it to feel, like, compared to, like, a Bayonetta game, you know? Like, it just, there's some layer of crust on it. And, like, I gave it, like, maybe 2 sessions worth. And I do want to go back to it. The theming's pretty cool. You got this little, like, creature at your side that's helping you fight. I enjoyed all the things that I saw, but I pretty easily dropped this one. The next game I didn't complete, which I bought with Lost Soul Aside, is Silent Hill F. This was the new Silent Hill game that came out in 2025 with the new sort of like more psychological horror mixed with the Japanese setting. And honestly, from what I played of this game, was one of my favorite games that I didn't complete of 2025. Just the combat felt really nice. The story itself, the trauma of these like girls and boys and their teens, and it's honestly like the best the gameplay's ever felt. Like, I've gone back, I played Silent Hill 1, I played Silent Hill 2 and 3, I've played some of Silent Hill 4, and some of Downpour, and just, like, the gameplay of those games, while some of them are classic games, are not the most fluid feeling. I mean, some of, like, PS1 and PS2 games, for God's sake. But this version of the game, it just felt very nice to play, in my opinion. I did play some Silent Hill 2 Remake, and, like, I was trying to, like, think of how I felt between those two games, and I think I enjoy the feel of Silent Hill F more than that game. And I definitely am going to revisit this game once I get through some more of my games in my backlog. Even from when I played, I definitely would recommend this game to people who like horror games. Next on my list is Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. That is a mouthful. I bought this like right before Digimon Time Strangers, and I played like maybe 4 hours of it. There's not much to say about it. It's a classic RPG. You're like one party member, and you're fighting through the Dragon Quest world. It's a classic game remade, and I kind of just want to try it out. And just from me trying it out, I do definitely want to finish the first, second, and third Dragon Quest of the remakes. Music was very good. The graphics and the gameplay felt nice. And I think they really knocked it out of the park with these HD 2D remakes. Now we're officially getting towards the end of the year. The next game I didn't complete is Metroid Prime 4, which, if I'm gonna be honest, kind of does this whole Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 thing where the game has the Metroid Prime title, and the game was essentially canceled, and they remade it from the ground up, and it just isn't really a Metroid Prime game. I mean, you're mostly just going through corridors. There's no real exploration. And I played a few hours, kind of unimpressed with it, because I expected it to be more like, you know, Prime 1 and 2 and 3, but that's not what it was. It seems like they're trying to honestly do like a soft reboot, but calling this Metroid Prime 4 is a big disservice to the game, but they probably have so much cost that they put into this game, they just needed to get it out. It feels like a Metroid Lite. I don't know. I was enjoying what I played, but my expectations were not met, that's for sure. The next game I didn't complete is a big one. It's Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It's one of those games that I feel like it just hit me at the wrong point. Like, it felt fun. I liked the parrying, the dodging. When I played, the story was fine. I mean, I didn't get too far, but You know, I was interested in seeing where it went, but I just didn't really feel like playing an RPG when I started this game. I was a little overwhelmed by like how much Lumina points they give you, and I just wasn't really interested in doing any of it, so I just would parry everything to kill bosses and not really interact with that. And I don't know. I just kind of had some fatigue with the game because everyone kind of tells you to like something, and I just get kind of like bored with the idea of playing it, in a sense. And when everyone around you is telling you to play something, I just got overwhelmed by the amount of people telling me to play it. Just like I had like 4 or 5 people in my life telling me like, oh, you should really play this game. It's like, well, I was planning on it. But with the more people telling me to play it, the less interested I got. And like the more white noise that opinion became. I know like a lot of people, it's their favorite game and whatnot. But I might play it later in 2026, I'm not sure. But for now, I'm just leaving it in the backlog. And after the last game I played but didn't complete in 2025. It's actually a game I started playing while I was playing Digimon Time Stranger. And that game is Hollow Knight. Yeah, I know. Gaming sacrilege not to play Hollow Knight. But it's also one of those games that is consistently hit me at the wrong point. Like every time I'm thinking like, oh, I want to play Hollow Knight, something else comes out and I want to play that, and then this has happened for years. And there's also that like gaming fatigue that set in where it's like everyone is telling me like, oh dude, this game is so amazing, Metroidvania is like, oh, you gotta play this, and then it just got to the point where it was in my mind and I just never played it. You know, I really enjoy Metroidvania games. I played Bloodstained. Really liked that game. I have a lot of the Castlevania games. You know, I like Super Metroid, that sort of stuff. And it just never happened. I don't know. But from what I did play, I'm not too far yet. Maybe like 3 hours in the game. But I was having fun of just getting lost pretty often, you know. And then I was playing it during Digimon, which I was kind of grinding through. And I couldn't really play Hollow Knight all that often because I was getting a little exploration fatigue. Like, there's so much to explore, and like, I was already doing all this grinding in Digimon, and I didn't really want to do both of them at the same time. I am enjoying the gameplay and the art style so far, and like all the theming and characters. I think Hollow Knight will be one of the first games I beat of 2026. But we'll see how that goes. And yeah, that was all the games that I played in 2025. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found a game or two that you thought was interesting they might look at. If you think I should beat a game in 2026, tell me. And hope to see you in the next video.